Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. So in today's video I'm going to be creating this rounded green spotlight eye. It's something very similar to a look that I did on a client of mine recently, and I got great feedback on Instagram and Facebook, so I said I'd put it into a little tutorial. So as usual, I'm starting off with my brows, and I'm using the Essence Give Me Brow to push all of the hairs upwards. This brow gel will set all of the hairs in place and add texture to the brow. To fill in my brow, I'm then using the Anastasia Beverlyhills Dipbrow in the shade Blonde on an angled brush from Penney's, and I'm using small strokes to draw a line underneath my brow and to extend the tail of my brow. I then create an arch and then use whatever product is left on my brush, and I push the product upwards to fill in any sparse areas or gaps in my eyebrows. I'm then taking a small flat concealer brush and a little bit of Inglot YSM just to clean up around my brow and get rid of any misplaced product and to perfect the arch of my brow also. Then to carve out my brows and set my eyelid, I'm going in with MAC Select Cover Up Concealer in NW20 on that same flat concealer brush, and I start by carving out the brow and then dragging the product downward onto my eyelid. This product is hella thick and will help conceal any redness or pigmentation on the eyelid or around the eye. As you can see, it very easily covers the little red veins of my eyelid and also the little circle of pigmentation that I have towards the inner corner of my eye. I then carve the top of my brow just to make it easier for applying my foundation later, that I'm not going in with the fine-tooth comb trying to keep my foundation out of my eyebrows. I don't use a powder to set this concealer, I just use a fluffy brush and patting motions to press the product into place. I then just buff the edges of where I've applied the concealer just to get rid of any harsh lines to help blend my foundation later on. Now going in with my Morphe 35B palette and my second darkest green shade on a fluffy Real Techniques blending brush, and I'm just packing this into the very centre of my crease. So this is the highest point of the eye look, so this is why I'm starting here. I want to build up all of my product and colour intensity here and then blend it outwards and inwards. So I am packing all of the shadow into the very centre of my eye and then using soft circular motions to buff the eyeshadow towards the outer corner of my eye and towards the inner corner of my eye also, to maintain that very rounded shape. You may need to go in a few times into your eyeshadow just to help build up the colour and intensity of this shade and to perfect the shape also. And then just using a very light hand, I'm just blending using circular motions, again just to perfect the shape. To buff the edges then, I'm just going in with a clean blending brush just to get rid of any harsh lines and to just help blend the green shadow into my concealer. Going back to my Morphe 35B palette, I'm taking the darkest green shade on a smaller blending brush and just packing this into the outer corner of my eye and then upwards into my crease. I'm going to take this shade all over my eye, even though I will be cutting out a spotlight later, but this way I'm guaranteed to not have any sparse areas or gaps when I do cut out the spotlight. I'm now going back in with my previous brushes just to blend that into the first shade and then to buff out the edges and get rid of any harsh lines. Now time for my Jaclyn Hill palette. I'm going in with that really dark green shade on the bottom row, and again with an even smaller blending brush, and I'm just going to pack this shade into the outer corner and inner corner of my eye and then up along the crease. I like to blend this shade up into the crease just so you can really see the gradient between the three green shades already applied on the eye. It's a little bit difficult to see at the moment, but it'll become more evident when we cut out the spotlight. A little tip for packing on eyeshadow in the inner corner of the eye is to look straight and slightly downward, or look in the opposite direction. This will stretch the skin on the eyelid and allow you to really get in there with all the shadow on a small brush. I'm now going in with my previous brushes, again just to blend the shadows upwards and into the previous shadows, and then also using that clean fluffy brush to blur any harsh lines on our edges. Now to cut out that spotlight, I'm going in with the same flat concealer brush that I used to prep my eyelid and the same concealer, MAC Select Cover Up in NW20. I start by looking straight and mapping out where I want my spotlight to be. It should be in line with the pupil and iris of your eye, so directly in the centre of your eyelid. So I start by just drawing a line downward and then going in with the very tip and edge of my brush just to perfect the rounded shape. Just mimicking the shape of my crease really. So this may take a minute or so just to get that perfect curve and to make sure that it's straight and not slightly lopsided or anything. And once you have your shape perfected, just keep packing on the concealer and use patting motions just to set the concealer in place. I like to blend the concealer for my spotlight out slightly in the inner and outer corner of my eye. This just gives you more room for blending and also prevents leaving any harsh lines from your concealer in your eyeshadow. It just makes it look a lot neater and also more blended when it all comes together. For my spotlight, I'm going in with my Colourpop Super Shock eyeshadow in the shade Liberty. This is a gorgeous metallic silver colour, and I'm just applying this with a flat concealer brush. The concealer is already really tacky, so I'm just applying the shade right on top of it. This will really help the pigmentation of the shadow and make it super metallic looking. So I'm just packing this eyeshadow on and using patting motions to set it in place. I'm being very careful up towards the carved spotlight just to make sure that I don't lose the shape of my spotlight and just up towards my crease. So I'm using the very edge of the brush. I was very specific in the brush that I use. I wanted something that's a little bit tapered at the top just so that I could go in and apply the shadow without disrupting the carved out area that we worked very hard to get the shape of. I'm now going in with my Peaches and Creams pigment in Disco. This is a gorgeous silver pigment, and using the same brush and a little bit of my MAC Fix Plus spray, I'm just picking up a little bit of that pigment and packing it in on top of my Colourpop eyeshadow. This will just add more intensity to the spotlight. It's called a spotlight for a reason. You want it to stand out and be seen from everywhere. As you can see, there is a very blunt line between where the Super Shock eyeshadow and the pigment ends and then where the matte shadows begin. So to get rid of that, I'm going in with this gorgeous diesel green shade from the Morphe and Jaclyn Hill palette on a small lip brush, and I'm just blending the shadow into the corner of the pigment. There's a little bit of a shimmer in this shadow, so it'll give it a little bit more of a gradient and stop it looking so harsh. The shape that I go for is kind of like a mushroom. I really want that curved top up along the crease and then just kind of the little stem focusing on the very centre of my eye. Now I'm just wiping away any shadow that has fallen out underneath my eye, just using a damp cotton pad and a little bit of face cleanser. I'm now prepping underneath my eye and I'm going in with my Catrice Liquid Camouflage Concealer in the shade 005 and just buffing that out with my Penney's concealer brush. I will be adding more concealer later after I apply my foundation, so this is really just acting as a base for blending the eyeshadows underneath my eye. So before I go in with any more shadows, I'm going to apply a little bit of glue onto my lashes. The lashes that I'm using today are the Penney's lashes in the style Iconic. They are unbelievable. They're really tapered at each end, so it really adds to the effect of a spotlight. So they'll be drying while I finish off the eye look. I'm going in with a little bit of Inglot 63 eyeshadow on a small smudging brush and just applying this along the lash line. I didn't want to apply liner because I don't want to disconnect the spotlight from my eye. And now, just because I'm fussy, I'm going back in with that clean blending brush and just blurring out any edges. I'm now going back in with the dark green shade from the Jaclyn Hill palette and then the dark green shade from the Morphe 35B palette and just blending out underneath my eye. And now I'm taking a coal black pencil from Taupe and Glory and applying this into my waterline. Then I'm going back in with the same matte black eyeshadow, Inglot 63, just to set my eyeliner and then blend it downward into the shadows underneath my eye. And then coating my eyelashes with L'Oreal Telescopic Mascara and just running this through my upper lashes and my lower lashes also. And then picking up those lashes, the glue is nice and tacky, and applying them straight on. These are a little bit thick and the band especially is very thick, so just take your time, apply a nice amount of glue, give it some time to get really sticky, and then place it in the very centre of your eye. Then focus on the outer corner and sticking that down, and then finally go into the inner corner. I always use the tweezers. It makes it a lot easier to grab the lash band and apply it as close to the lash line as possible. This is actually my second time using these lashes, so I'm just going to take the end of my tweezers and just slightly push the lashes upwards just to give it that little curve and the real fluttery look. So that is the finished eye look. Just give the glue a couple more seconds to dry. It's still looking a little bit wet and white, but that'll dry clear. And now to move on to the skin, I'm going to prime my face using a little bit of Max Fix Plus spray and then MAC Strobe Cream. So just adding a pea size amount of that and just dashing it all over my face and rubbing it in with my fingers. The foundation that I'm using today is going to be very full coverage and fairly thick, so I'm using my Strobe Cream as a base just to add a little bit of glow and dewiness to the skin also. So I'm going in with a little bit of my Inglot HD foundation in the shade 75 and my YSM foundation in 50. This just kind of dilutes it down a little bit more and gives the skin kind of a more skin-like look, but still giving you that full coverage that you want. So I'm just applying this with my dense foundation brush from a Penney's collection and then going in with my Real Techniques blush brush just to set that product in place. No matter what foundation claims to be full coverage, I still need to do kind of 2 layers usually, just because of all my freckles and to have any hope of covering them. So I'm going in with another layer, just picking some of the product up on my Real Techniques brush, and again just pat 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 and setting the product in place. So I'm going to highlight and contour using the Sosu contour kit. Now I've already applied some concealer under my eye, but I'm going to go in with shade 1 from the palette just to brighten up underneath my eye. I'm using my concealer brush from Penney's and I am just blending all that product under my eye and out onto my cheekbones. Is that a harsh line I see? Of course, going in with my Real Techniques brush that I used to apply my foundation and just buffing out the edge of my concealer into my foundation. I'm going to set that then using shade 3 from the palette on my Real Techniques concealer brush and just applying that over the area that I've concealed. And just running a little bit of the product down the centre of my face just to brighten it up a tad. Now to warm up the face, I'm going in with my Peaches and Creams bronzer in the shade Light Medium. This is a very orange undertoned bronzer, so I wouldn't use it to contour, but I always use it just to warm up my skin. So I'm applying this on a round bronzer brush, just buffing it into the hollows of my cheek and slightly over my cheekbones. I'll then bring it up into the temples of my forehead and along my jawline also. Bronzer doesn't look as orange when you apply it on the skin, it just gives you that sun-kissed look. And then going in with shade 6 from the Sosu palette and blending this into the very hollows of my cheeks. This blends so nicely into the Peaches and Creams bronzer and really gives you that chiseled effect without looking really dark or muddy on the skin. And then to highlight my face, I'm using the Inglot Sparkle Dust in 07 and picking it up on an Inglot 4SS brush. I'm highlighting the highest points of my face, including my cheekbones, the very tip of my nose and along my cupid's bow. I'm then picking up a little bit of the Catrice High Glow Mineral Highlighter and packing this into the inner corner of my eye and highlighting my brow bone also. And then for blush, I'm taking my Essence Peach Me Up on an angled contouring brush and just applying this to the very apples of my cheeks and blending it back slightly into the area that I contoured. And now for lips, I'm going in with a lip liner from Penney's. I think this is called Desert. The name was actually wiped off the pencil, so I'm not 100% sure, but it's a gorgeous brownie nude shade and it goes with almost every nude lip. So I'm going to slightly overdraw my lips, especially around my cupid's bow, and then just joining it up to the natural line of my lips towards the very corners. And then going in with my MAC Pure Zen lipstick. This is a creme sheen, so it's really sheer and really glossy, and I don't need to wear a gloss with it, unfortunately. And then just going in with my little lip brush just to blend it into the lip liner. Eyes done, base done, lips done, we are done. So that is the final look. This gorgeous, colourful green spotlight eye. Very dramatic, but definitely wearable. One thing people said was it was gorgeous, but I couldn't possibly wear that. So here's proof that you can and exactly how to do it. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I would love to hear some feedback and your thoughts. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all soon.